Aavesham, the highly anticipated Fahadh Faasil movie, is here, and I can tell you for one thing, this movie was an absolute blast. I had so much fun with this movie, and I can't wait to break it all down. This movie was, oh my god, so much fun, guys. I can't wait to talk to you guys about this movie. If you are new here, my name is Amit. I do Malayalam movie reviews. I've been doing it for quite some time. We do new movies, old movies, have a lot of fun, and get a lot of guests involved. But for this case, it's just me, because I was the one that watched it. But yeah, getting onto this movie, fantastic movie. I'm just going to say that straight up. I'm not going to hold the suspense at all. I will break it down like I always do, and I think what I did last time in my Adu Jivatam review was I broke it down into chapters, and I really enjoyed doing that. So I'm going to do that again. It will be a spoiler review, guys, so I will be breaking down points in the plot, but to be completely honest with you, even if I knew the plot coming into this movie, I don't think it would ruin it that much. Like, it's not really a movie that I think the spoilers are not really going to ruin the experience of watching this movie. So yeah, let me get into it. I can't wait to talk about this movie. My overall thoughts. Yeah, so I think I'll keep it broad because, you know, I do have a few things to say about this movie, but coming into the movie itself, I would say I didn't have huge expectations coming in, okay? So I knew a few things. Fahadh Faasil is like almost an instant seller for me because I see Fahadh Faasil on, you know, a poster, on a trailer, with his name's attached to a movie, I'll probably watch it. Like, I'm a huge fan of Fahadh Faasil. He's a fantastic actor and so diverse in what he does. That's one thing I knew about it. The other thing I knew was Jithu Madhavan. Now, he's the director of Romanian. This is his second movie, and yeah, I love Romanian, and I really wanted to see what he was going to do next. So it's cool to see, you know, the second movie from the actor and how they're going to approach it. What are they going to do? Is it going to be similar? Is it going to be different? Are we going to see some kind of, you know, some similarities between the movies in his sort of style of direction? And I can definitely say we do. And the other thing that really sold me was all the promotional material for this movie. This movie, to me, sold itself as being a fun movie. Okay, Fahadh Faasil looked unhinged. He looked crazy. That's already a part that's going to get me intrigued. The music was banging. It was, you know, it had a really fun sound to it. It didn't seem like it took itself too seriously, is what I think I got, the feeling I got from this trailer. And it's so good because in 2024, the Malayalam film industry has been on fire, and this movie is no exception at all. You know, it really, really has been on fire. But the thing that my experience so far in 2024 is that the Malayalam film industry has put together really strong, like, you know, conceptual pieces which really make you feel emotionally. You know, I wouldn't necessarily go out and call them entertainment movies. Like, they were entertaining, but this movie is like an all-out entertainment kind of movie. Movies like Brahma Yugam, you know, it was such a good movie, but it was so deep and dense in what it was trying to do, and very serious in what it was trying to do, you know. Then we had movies like Manjuma Boys, which was, you know, also in a way very serious, and, you know, depicted the real life scenario of somebody going through something tragic and what they had to do to overcome that. That movie ended up making more money than any other Malayalam movie has made. And then you have a movie like the recent one I just saw, Adu Jivatam, which is like literally like a torture movie. You know, there's nothing to smile about in that movie at all. So it's definitely, some movies this year have been hard to watch. I missed out on Primalu because it didn't ever make it to Australia, so I couldn't watch that one. But, you know, overall, the sense that I've got so far is there's been a lack of like just fun movies this year. So I was really hoping for like a comedy or something that's a bit more lighthearted, and I got that with Aavesham. This movie was definitely that. It was a fun ride, and yeah, it was just so refreshing to have this come at this time. I think it's really going to work well, and it's going to make a lot of money at the box office, I feel, because of that reason. So yeah, just a really big fan of the movie, and it was just fantastic. But let me break it all down even more now. The visuals, music, and overall production. So talking about sort of the technical side of the movie, fantastic. Exceptional. Like, Jithu Madhavan has a great eye for how to make a really good movie and a really fun movie. That's something that I really got out of this, because this movie itself, like, I had a high expectations kind of because it came from the Romanian director, and that movie was one that I didn't see in cinema. It was actually one of the first movies I covered, you know, on this channel. One of the first modern movies I reviewed on this channel. And that movie, I remember watching it and thinking, man, this movie would have been so much fun to watch in an audience because it was so funny. It was so much fun. And this movie does that as well. This movie is so funny and it's so much fun. But from a technical aspect, it's really a great cinematic experience. So I mean, it's shot really well. It's beautiful. The music is just fantastic. I mean, the music is by Shushim Shyam, so you're not really going to go wrong with that, right? Like Shushim Shyam is one of the best out there, and he has a very I'm starting to see that he has a very distinct sound, and he makes really good upbeat, uplifting kind of movies. Well, his music is really upbeat and really gets you in the mood. You know, I'd say the soundtrack of his, like, the sound I'm getting very familiar with is, yes, he did the music for Ramen Jam. He also did the music for, like, Conroe Squad last year. And there are elements of sort of that in this movie as well, and they add so much to this movie. Like, this is the kind of movie that you want to sit back and just enjoy. And the music does so much for that. It's incredible. The songs are really good. You know, we have the song Jada that came out and the Illuminati song. Both they were both super upbeat and super fun. And that's what this movie really is. They encapsulated what this movie is about. Music was fantastic, visually fantastic. Some of the fight sequences are shot so well and so creatively. They're done really well. So I have really no complaints in terms of the cinematic effect of this movie, and the visuals are just on point. Production-wise, fantastically well done movie. The editing is great. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this movie at all from a technical point of view. It's really engaging, and they do that for the entire movie from start to finish. That's partly to do with the writing of the movie and the story, but it has a lot to do with the production as well. Action comedy. This movie, as I mentioned before, was really marketed in a fun way. And the two things that I got out of this movie was that it looked like there was a lot of action and even a lot of violence, I think, from some of the scenes they showed in the trailer from my memory. And it was also really funny. Like, I mean, you could tell this is an upbeat kind of movie, like Fahadh Faasil playing who he is. And don't worry, I'm going to talk about Fahadh Faasil quite a bit later on. But you can already tell that this movie, you know, in terms of its like comedy, it's going to be there. Boy, was it funny. This movie was hilarious. And I mean, it was so funny that, like, the kind of funny that the whole audience would just be laughing with you. You know, now obviously some of the comedy I miss because I feel like some of the language barriers that are there. But the great thing about Jithu Madhavan is that he actually knows how to make situational comedies really well. So I don't necessarily feel like I missed out that much. Obviously, there's some things I would have missed with the language, with some jokes. But in terms of actually, you know, just enjoying this movie for its comedy alone, it's freaking hilarious. It's probably the funniest movie I've seen this year from the Malayalam film industry. Easily the funniest movie I've seen this year, to be honest. It was so much fun and so funny. Fahadh Faasil's character is so funny in this movie. He is basically the comedian in this movie. It is there's some sequences that he has which are just out there, and you would have probably seen some of them in some of the promotional material. And again, that sort of tells you what the tone of this movie is going to be like. But his performance and how he's able to bring the comedy to life, it's just so good. You know, it really is. Fahadh Faasil is basically, I guess, like the center of this movie, but the other sort of three boys that are also involved play their role so well. There's a lot of college humor that's there as well, as the boys try to navigate their way through sort of, I guess, some of the turmoils that they're going through with, you know, being bullied essentially by some other gang in the school where the seniors, I think, that's there. That's unfortunate, but yeah, it's a really funny movie. And on top of that, the action is just so good. The action is really good. Like, it's one of the better action movies that I think I can remember. You know, the action movies that come to mind for me when I think of the Malayalam film industry are essentially from last year. We had RDX, that was a really good action movie, and then we had Talumala, which I think had really good action sequences as well. So they're the ones that I think come to mind, and I think this movie fits into that bracket just as well. Like, the action sequences are so good. They're shot really well. I had one little issue with the first big action sequence that they had where they're fighting in the college. I felt that was an over-reliance on slow motion, which I generally don't like. I don't like so much slow motion in action movies. I, in fact, like there to be less slow motion. The first action sequence had that a little bit. That's one area where I thought it lacked. But otherwise, man, it was really good. The last action sequence, especially with when Fahadh Faasil comes to life, because he doesn't really do any like action sequences until the end where he has some backstory and reasons why he doesn't want to do it. But when he gets into it, man, it's so good. And it's shot well. Yeah, no complaints on the action at all. It's really good. It's really entertaining and really fun. So yeah, this movie is an action comedy, and it really is one. There's no lying about that at all. Main storyline. All right, so the plot for this movie, look, it's not overly complicated. It's not one that's going to blow you away. There's not too many twists and turns. There's a few subtle things here and there. But the plot itself is probably not, it's not the real selling point of this movie, I would say. This movie is an experience. You go in to watch this movie to have a good time. You don't go in to walk away to try and dissect what actually happened and who was right and who was wrong. There's no real major themes either in this movie that really help sort of the storyline to build itself up. there's nothing there that's deep and complex, that's really profound in sort of, a humanistic kind of way. It's really just, it's a pretty simple story. It's basically about three college kids. They moved from Kerala to Bangalore, and then essentially, they get bullied by their seniors, essentially. Then to basically try and get back on them, they find Ranga, Fahadh Faasil's character, and his gang, and basically extract revenge. That's basically it. And through the course of that, it changes. The first half is really more based on them seeking revenge. And basically in the second half, it's how do they escape what they've caused for themselves. It is a tale of sort of be careful what you wish for, because they got what they wanted in getting the revenge on their seniors, and then they're sort of the top dogs. That song comes in at the right time, Jada. And yep, it is in the movie, the translation just says swag, but thanks to you guys in the comment section, I know it means something a little bit different to that. But yeah, like in terms of like this plot line, the second half is like takes a bit more, I guess, twists and turns in general, and we get to understand, I guess, the journey that the characters have to go on to get out of the mess that they've caused for themselves. But look, there's nothing really there that I think is really like mind-blowing or anything like that. There's nothing that's going to surprise you or nothing that's not been done before. Like there's stuff that we've seen before, but go into this movie thinking that you're going in for an experience, if I can suggest something, because it is an experience. And I think the movie does a good job of setting that up. It spends a lot of time fleshing out the storyline, but it's fine. I was fine with it because how just engaging it was and how fun it was. So that's the storyline, guys. There's nothing really mind-blowing, but hey, it's enjoyable and it does the job, and it never feels like it's going slow or it's dragging at any point. It feels like it's, well-paced, and again, Jithu Madhavan, as I said, knows how to make an entertaining movie. So in that way, the plot works well. It's worked really, the plot's just there to sort of carry us along, and we're just watching the experiences of all the characters. That's really it from the storyline. But I personally enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought if you've seen it. Fahadh Faasil. All right, Fahadh Faasil, man. Like, yeah. I mean, looking at the trailer, looking at some of the material that was coming out, I knew this would be a Fahadh Faasil ride. Like, this is a movie that I think he wasn't taking himself too seriously with, and you can tell, man, he must have been having the time of his life during this movie, man. He looks like he's having so much fun playing this character. Now, if there's any actor that can play unhinged in the Malayalam film industry, and I'm saying anyone, including the big M's, I think Fahadh Faasil does it better than anybody else. Like, since the start, when I've seen his sort of earlier movies, he's always had this physical acting which he can do really well in a real crazy way. So whenever he's playing a character that's really sort of over the top in some ways, he'll knock that out the park. Like, I don't know any other actor who could sort of fill in his shoes and do as good a job as what he did in this role here. And it's not even the most unhinged I've seen him. Like, that's the thing. I've seen him be more unhinged, particularly in the movie Trance. I think that's the movie I've seen him be the most unhinged. In this movie, I think he's definitely unhinged, and he's crazy, and he's funny. And yeah, it's probably, outside of Trance, probably the most crazy I've personally seen him. He's great. He's just fantastic. He's the life of this movie. Every time he's on screen, he's so captivating, so engaging, so funny. I mean, the comedy he's able to sort of, I don't know if he considers himself a comedian, but man, he is, he's definitely up there with sort of one of the funny actors that I've seen, because the character he's playing, he's embodying this sort of gangster who's like a loose cannon. And it's interesting because he does show, they do have flashbacks of him being a much more quieter character, but what he's become like now is something completely different. The bond and relationship that he has with all his goons, the team he has around him, as well as the three kids who basically, he adopts as his kids in some ways. This battle that he's having with basically trying to find happiness, and what does happiness mean for him? What does it mean for his kids? One of the characters' name is Bibi, and his mother keeps calling up. And whenever he does, he just freezes and he can't sort of do anything because some of the trauma he's had to deal with sort of his mother and his past as well. But it's just so funny to see and so endearing to see as well sometimes. It's weird, man. It's like at times he's really sweet to these kids, but you know that just like that he can switch it on and just be like, end your life straight away. And it's so hilarious to see these three kids, and shout out to the kids as well. Like, I think they're all debut actors. One his name is Hipster? Okay. He plays Aju. We have Mithun J. Shankar playing Bibi. Probably he was probably my favorite because he was the one that he probably had the most comedic moments, I think. Then we had Roshan Shanavas as Shantan. Yeah, they were all fantastic as well. As long as, man, I think outside of Fahadh Faasil, man, I got to give it up to this actor here, Sajin Gopu. He plays a character called Amban. But this character Amban, oh my god, he is so funny, really hilarious, and he plays one of the characters in Roman Cham as well, Nirup. So again, I don't know if there's any crossover. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But in terms of his performance as well, oh my god, man, he was arguably like my favorite actor outside of Fahad, I think, because he was just bringing so much, and their dynamic, his loyalty to Fahad Faasil is just something else. Oh my god, he has some hilarious moments, and I think in terms of delivery, he might have been one of the funniest characters in this movie. So good, so funny to see him. Fantastic. The cast did an amazing job. It was a joy to watch, man. It really was. And a part of that was because the performances were just so damn good. Connections to Roman Cham. So, the last part I wanted to talk to you guys about was basically, obviously, Jithu Madhavan is the director of this movie, and a lot of talk was talked about, like, is this movie a spin-off? Is it like a continuation of the character? Really, particularly around Chemban Vinod Jose's character in Ramanchan. I think he's playing Saeed Muhammad, and he has a hilarious scene in, hilarious but also kind of disturbing and sad in Ramanchan. I might have to rewatch that scene to see if there's any sort of mention of the character Ranga, but he's not playing that character. His name is Ranga in this movie, so he's he's someone else completely, but I'm not sure if he is maybe related to him or something like that, or maybe it's an alias name that he has, because he's dressed just like him. Like his costume design is just like that. He's playing someone that's very flamboyant and very, I guess, over the top and extravagant in what he's doing. A lot of sort of jewelry, the white sort of dressing, and I'm guessing from the short glimpse we got from Chemban, it was pretty similar to that too. So I'm not sure if he is actually playing the same character as a different alias. I'm not sure if there was any other references, like the juice shop that they're in. I'm not sure if that was referenced in Roman Cham, for instance. I've got to really just do a sort of deep dive and see if there are any connections between the two movies. But yeah, I'm not really sure where they sort of go from here. I really wanted to ask you guys, are there any instances of movies where they've created like this universe? I know in the Tamil film industry, they have a LCU universe going on, and obviously it's a huge thing in, Hollywood with all the different franchises and sort of what they're doing, especially even now with like everything is basically interlinked at this point. But have they done anything like this in the Malayalam film industry? If they haven't, I would love for Jithu Madhavan to just start his own universe here, because while these movies they're not, Roman Cham and Aavesham are quite different in some ways. Like this is a lot more action, and Roman Cham is a lot more sort of horror comedy in some ways, but so there's no horror in this movie at all. But the comedy is definitely one thing that links, and the style of comedy is also pretty similar. So I don't know if there is any connections. Of course, I did mention Gopu's sort of role in this movie as well, who's playing Amban. Now, he plays a character in both movies. Now, I'm not sure if he's playing the same character in Ramanchan. In fact, he's not playing the same character. He's playing another character whose name is Nirup, sorry. So again, I don't think that maybe there isn't a connection necessarily like that, but I guess they're just having actors come in and out. So there probably isn't too much of a connection, guys. I've heard that might be a spin-off potentially of the character. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here and just trying to see if there's any kind of connection. If you guys know anything, if you guys have any theories about how they could connect this, I would love to know that even more, because I'm somebody that loves to sort of play around with these fantasy ideas of connecting movies together and seeing where they might fit. And I do it a lot for Hollywood movies, but I've not seen it done anywhere from Malayalam movies. So if it has been done, let me know, because I'd love to explore that universe of things. But if not, hey, there's an opportunity here. Anyway, my final thoughts, guys. I love this movie. It's so much fun. It's an all-out entertainer, a lot of comedy, a lot of good action sequences. I cannot wait for this movie to come out on OTT now, because that's when I'll probably watch it next. Because yeah, I had such a great time with it. Like the cinema, as I told you, it was a really great audience. It was probably about half full for me, which is a good sign. Normally, aside from Mammootty movies or Mohanlal movies, they're not normally full. They're normally pretty empty unless they've been out for some time and they've developed some good word of mouth. But I saw it on the first day it came out, and yeah, it already had a pretty good audience. So fantastic. Go watch it. Go watch it with some friends. You'll enjoy it. There's no way you're not going to enjoy this. It's such a good time. And thank you so much for listening to my review. If you've stuck around till now, I seriously appreciate you. You mean the world to me, and I just enjoy doing this so much. So until the next one, guys, I'll speak to you next time.